The Central Bank of Nigeria has advised the Nigeria Customs Service to use the official closing foreign exchange rate in determining the price and for the importation and clearance of goods. The Apex Bank says this move will take effect today. Bamidele Ayemibo, the Chief Executive Officer of 3T Impex Consultant, joins me now virtually for more on this discussion. Mr. Ayemibo, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. A whole lot of eyeballs are fixed on today's effective date when we are looking at the directive from the CBN to the Nigeria Customs Service in using the official closing rate as the import duty assessment levy peg. Let's take a few steps back, looking at the problems around the irregularity in the changes. We've seen almost 7 changes as at up until early February. Let's talk about the irregularities, the impact here before we now talk about today's effective date.
All right. Thank you very much. You know, what has happened is that if I want to import, for example, I will open my form and go to the trade.gov.ng to open my form. Now, when I'm opening my form, there is a form rate. That's the exchange rate. So that means at this particular point when I'm opening my form, I've checked the rate, I've checked again the duty payment. So I have an idea of my cost. So if the rate is 1,200, for example, I calculate that against the percentage of duty. Let's say my duty is 20% of CFR. I do the calculation, add it to the cost, look at my global cost and see if this shipment is profitable. But what we observe is that the rates were being changed frequently, keep changing. Now, when they change it, if I now bring in the good and I want to clear, I will now have to calculate duty based on the new rate. But this rate is saying, let me quote, it said, so this is for the central bank wishes to advise the custom and other related party that they should adopt the closing FX rate on the date of opening for men for the importation of goods. That means if I open my form 3 months ago, if I clear my goods today, I'm going to use that rate of 3 months ago, because when I was doing that importation, that rate was the basis for taking that buying decision. So I think it's a good one because, like I said, irregularities and keep changing, and it's really distorting so many things, making life difficult for importers. You know, sometimes when we think of importer, we just think as if import is entirely bad. People are importing machineries. People are importing raw materials. A lot of manufacturers are being affected. Job losses is impending. And that's not good for our economy. And I think it's a very good policy and a decision in the right direction as far as I'm concerned.
And talking about the policy and how this also helps to address the issues around abnormal increases in the final sale prices of goods and services in the country, we still have to look at the fluctuations in the market, because now we've seen that volatility reflect what's panning out in the parallel market just as the same at the official window. Largely this year, we've seen rates hit the lows of 1,400, now 1,500 marks. So the changes are still going to be there, wouldn't you say?
Now, yes. But what is clear now to everyone is, if I open my form today, February 26th, and let's say the rate, I've not checked today, let's say the rate is 1.4 on the official window. 1.4, because it said the form rate on the day, the closing rate, on the day of opening my form. So if I go to check now, and the rate today is 1,314, for example. If my good come in 6 months down the line, and the rate down the line is 1.6, when I was doing my importation application, I already know at 1.3, I am profitable. I can say afford to sell. I can say afford to use it and be profitable. So the idea here is, it's fluctuating, it's not changing the fluctuation. The issue here is not solving the fluctuation problem. The issue here is helping importers to have a predictable cash flow. So I know what I'm going to be spending. I know what it's going to cost me. I know if it's going to be profitable. I know if I should go ahead. I shouldn't be getting to know my cost when the good have arrived 6 months down the line, and it's at the point of clearing I'm hearing that the rate has gone up and I'm not going to be paying more rate. So the policy is not addressing the volatility. The policy is just helping to manage already bad situation so as to help those importing not to be increasing their cost unnecessarily more than what they already planned with when they were doing the importation application on the government platform.
Sure, and definitely a whole lot of eyeballs, like I earlier said, are fixed on how this would also pan out. This starts today using the official closing rate as what will be used as the import duty assessment levy. But let's talk about the foresight here now in the short to medium term. How do you think this also helps to sanitize the market, and for the fact that we're still yet to get it right when we're talking about automation of services at our ports?
I didn't get that question.
I'm saying now that this is a wait and see approach at the end of the day. We're still looking at how this would also pan out. Automation is still a big issue we have to look at, and now we have this slight adjustment come through. So for you now, how do you see things panning out in the short to medium term in terms of compliance levels?
No, I don't think I've reached compliance level. I assume that the CBN already have consultation with customs before issuing this circular. I assume that. So if they have that, which I think they will, I don't see any reason why customs will not comply, because there should have been consultation behind the scene. I feel this is just informing the general public.
Yes.
And the bank. But the people that would effect this are the customs, and I'm sure there will have been consultation. So I don't see a situation where customs, in fact, if customs does not comply, then something is wrong with our system altogether. The synergy we are talking about among government agencies, all of them are working for the same presidency. The CBN governor reports to the presidency. The minister of the custom head, a report to Ministry of Finance, who report to the presidency. They are working for the same president. So I don't see any reason for not complying. But in terms of full automation of activity at the port, I think it's something we still need to do. People are still talking about the single window, the fact that we should have a single window for trade, not just for import, also for export. So in terms of automation, I think we still have a long way to go. We need to merge the two platforms, tradesystem.gov.ng for export, trade.gov.ng for import. We need to put them together on the same platform. We shouldn't be spending money on two platforms, maintaining two platforms, when we say there's no money. So I think in terms of automation, we still have a long way to go to fully automate the whole process as much as possible.
Mr. Yemibo, now also on the table of agenda, we have deliberations at the Central Bank of Nigeria's monetary policy meeting. Talks are already underway, but let's talk about some of the shocks we've also witnessed in the aftermath of the move towards FX market liberalization now, and for you, concerns around the business of doing import and export and the amount of losses we've also already incurred so far. We've seen some of the GDP numbers as well from the manufacturing sector, the agri contribution and much more. For you, are you concerned about how much of external trade we might likely see going forward?
It's a big issue, actually. And, you know, I was talking to a banker, I think it was over the weekend, and he was talking about this issue, how much manufacturer, we heard the news about one of the multinational declaring over 20 billion naira in losses because of this issue. Because people started trade transaction at the rate of 400, 600, 800. Now, when payment is due, they have to source for fund at 1,000 something. And I think government should support, actually. I don't know how some people will deal with this, because for some businesses, a colossal loss because of the wide gap in this. And this calls for also the need for an average importer in Nigeria, knowing the kind of environment we're operating, to begin to think of how to generate forex themselves. In fact, I think our business environment is such that if you are a major importer, you should be doing export. I'm aware that one of the major construction companies in Nigeria today, I don't want to mention name, is exporting cashew nut, roasted cashew nut. Now that's how serious the issue is, that even a construction company can begin to process agri for export. That's how serious it is. So, and that's a multinational organization. That's speaking to the fact that it's important today for importers in Nigeria to begin to consider the need for them to begin to consider export, meaning learning about it, understanding how it works, because they're already doing import. if they are going to save themselves from the challenge of this volatility, why government do all that the government is doing, they need to consider effort. And by the way, I must say this, that I think the government must do beyond working around, bringing in more funds, FDI, FPI, and the like. Government also needs to begin to look at how do we grow non-oil export. I'm not hearing a lot in that regard, either from CBN, from Minister of Trade, from Minister of Finance. I think NEPC, because that's their major job, are trying to do a lot, but NEPC is not well funded. So we need Minister of Trade and Finance and the presidency to support NEPC to create more exporters, so we can begin to talk more on the final last solution, or the more sustainable solution, which is growing non-oil export in Nigeria.
Well, Mr. Ayemibo would have to leave the conversation here for now, and definitely would explore other talking points as they continue to unfold on the back of this directive. Thank you so much for your time on this show today.
Thank you for having me.
That was Bamidele Ayemibo, the Chief Executive Officer of 3T Impex Consultant.